Hey everyone, it's Synth Designer back again with another video. Today we're going to do part 2 of how to start a synthwave song. If you haven't checked out part 1, go ahead and take a look right now. It's on my YouTube page and it takes you through several of the key starting points of a synthwave song. And I've had some requests, so I decided to do a part 2 to this. Now, let's take a look at where we are. So we started off with creating a bass, a pad, an arp, a couple of drum patterns, and a drone. And from there, we're going to take it a little bit further. We're not going to go all the way to finishing a song, including mastering and all the mixing and everything, but I wanted to show you a few extra steps you can take that should help you in creating your own synthwave songs. Now, here are a few extra bits that we're going to talk about in this video, and they are the lead melody with potential layers, drum fills, ear candy, some effects like sidechain compression, reverb, warping, transition effects, automation, and of course, song arrangement. So we're going to try to cover that all in this video. I have absolutely no idea where this video is actually going to go, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be a little bit more organic because writing a song isn't easy. Although I want to show you that there are methods to success. So we started off with kind of the basis of what we have, and we're going to expand from there. So first thing first, I wanted to kind of talk about the philosophy behind this. So as you can see, everything is stacked on top of each other, and my method of doing things is that I like to get all the main sounds out there first and then start arranging. Obviously, we're not just going to jump right into the song with absolutely everything at once. We're going to build it. We're going to add some effects. We're going to add automation here and there. But stacking everything all at once allows you to see if the sounds that you picked worked well together. And that way, you know that no matter where you place them in the song, they're going to work well no matter what. So why don't we take a look at what we have? Let's listen in, and then we're going to pick a melody layer. So let's see what we have so far. Okay, so you heard that kind of pad there. There's the consistent bass line, those arps. Underneath that, you have the drone, and of course, the kick drum. Now, we also picked a snare and a hat, but we're going to get to that later. So why don't we open up a new pattern here, pattern 8, and we're going to play around with some new sounds here. We're going to open up Serum. And of course, we're going to look into Synthwave Essentials. If you're new here, go to my website at synthdesigner.com and download Synthwave Essentials 1 through 3 absolutely free, or Synthwave Essentials for Vital if you don't have Serum. That's also absolutely free. If you want to support me, you could shoot me a donation or join my Patreon, where I send out 10 to 15 different Serum presets each month with all sorts of new genres every month. So we're going to take a look at what we have, and we're going to try to pick something. And as you can see, I have Synthwave Volume 4. That's not out yet. Hopefully I'll have that sometime in the new year, and I really look forward to releasing that because I think it's going to be my best preset pack. But anyway, I digress. So when we talk about leads, we want something cutting through the mix, right? So we have that pad that kind of fills the space. We have an arp that is really meant as a background type of sound, but now we need something up the middle. Now, there's not going to be any vocals on here, and your lead melody, if you think about the vocals, those are really meant to cut through the mix. So we're going to have to pick something that cuts through the mix. A saw wave typically is really, really forward in the mix, and we're going to have to pick something kind of, well, we'll see actually. Well, it might not be as harsh as a saw wave, but we'll see. So we're going to play the song and then kind of pick out a preset. Actually, what I like to do, let's go back to pattern 1 and check out our notes here, because in testing things, you want to test out a melody based on kind of the root note. So as you can see here, it's an E. We go to C, A, B. So typically, your first note will be your key to the song. That's not always the case, However, in this case, it is. It is in the key of E. So we're going to find E. There's C. There's E. So we're going to just be pressing E and maybe a few other notes here and there and see how these different presets sound together, along with the actual song here. So we'll just pick a new mixer position, and then we're going to go ahead and open up Serum again. And let's start with some lead sounds. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of lead sounds. Let's just start with volume 2 because I know there's some decent ones there. So let's listen in. Okay, so there's some interesting sounds that we heard here. Again, like I thought that the saw wave would really cut through. Like this one here is super harsh. Now we don't necessarily need all these higher frequencies, but let's listen again. Let's just maybe turn this down just a bit. Sorry for my piano playing, but that's what it is. So what we're gonna do here, so there's a couple ways of we could do things. Either you can play things out. Sometimes I'll do that just because like I have a melody in mind, like whatever it is. Or the other option is, let's head over to our chords here in pattern 2. And what we could do is simply copy and paste the chords into our new pattern, pattern 8, pick out Serum 4. And what we'll just do is just paste these in for now. Now don't play this because it's going to sound harsh and terrible, but what we have here is a basis for the notes that will work perfectly at certain parts of the song. Why? Well, because these are the chords are playing, so all these notes will work really well as part of our melody. There's obviously going to be other notes that will work, but anything within the key, and also there's other notes here and there, but just generally speaking, this is a very simple way of making sure that the notes you pick work. So we have E, G, B, and D here. So let's just start with that. So what we can do is just put this section here and then maybe play around and see how things work. So we're going to just write these out for now. You see how I played that F here, or F, that doesn't work because it's not in the key. Even F sharp doesn't work that great here because it doesn't fit within that chord, even though it is in the key. Then we can move on. It doesn't have to be perfect right away. Then we can move on here. And I'm just going to create something simple that lasts about these full 4 bars. And we're going to get back into it afterwards. I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing, but you essentially repeat this process here until you find something you like. So I'm going to create the melody and then we're going to check it out right after. Okay, so we have this little melody here. Now, as you'll notice, there's actually short notes, longer notes, and there's actually some parts here where I kind of double up the notes just to add some interesting harmonies and kind of make it a little bit more interesting than your kind of single note melodies. So what we're going to do is kind of just mash up some of these velocities too to make it sound just a little bit more, I don't know, human-like, because I didn't actually play it. And this way it's not all the exact same velocity. The other thing we can do is take this, then do Alt-Q, and we have a little quantizer here that can move things around a little bit. And it depends on how much sensitivity you want, but it takes it off the grid just a little bit. And we'll see how that sounds. Okay, so I don't love how this one note here sounds. So we're just going to manually change this. Okay, so there's our basic melody here. So now that we have all these elements together, we essentially have the full basis of the song. The other thing we can do as well is add a counter melody, and that's something that's pretty common in all forms of music. We'll think about that later if we want to add it. Usually the counter melody is meant to be kind of a different texture, and it's supposed to accompany the regular main lead, the main melody. So we'll think about that later. For now, I want to focus on how do we think about the next steps here of arranging the song, because now we have all of our elements here, and it's easy to get in kind of an 8-bar or a 4-bar loop, which is kind of what we're in now. But the next step is really kind of thinking about how do we get out of this? How do we get out of this loop and into arranging a full song? Now that we have all the elements, this is where we can really start. So let's get into that. So first thing first, what I'll do is just copy and paste these again. And then this way we have all these somewhere else, and we can move them as we wish. And what I'll do for now is keep this here, and let's think about how we want to start a song. We definitely don't want to keep all the elements at once. We want to build to a certain crescendo, then drop out elements, bring some elements in, etc. So what I think I'll do for now, and we're going to test these things, is just do the bass, take out the drums, the pads, and maybe what we'll do is leave the drone in here and see how that sounds together. Oh yes, that is a good start to a song, I think. Let's just listen without the drone. Yeah, it's okay, but this little drone layer I think adds a lot. And you can think about some like ear candy here coming up, and then that's what we'll add in a little bit. But we have a good basis to the song now. So then what we'll do is maybe have a little of like half bar dropout. And then we'll kick into basically a lot of full elements here. Not completely all the way, but most of the elements will kick in here. A little bit more full elements, let's say. So let's just play this little section. I'm thinking maybe we'll add this drum part in here. Actually, no, it's maybe a little bit too harsh to start with. What we'll do here is just take pattern 4 here, or pattern 5, and we'll do make unique. And we'll take out the actual snare here. So it'll just be a simple kick. Let's see how that sounds here. Pattern 5 you may leave. Pattern 6 here, let's see. The other alternative here is we just do, instead of every quarter, we'll do every half here. Okay, I think I prefer that. So we'll do that. Then we'll have this dropout here. And then we'll kick in some harsher drums maybe. And I think this is maybe a good spot here for a nice drum fill. So I'm going to get some toms together here. And we're going to create a little bit of a drum fill here. Let's pick out some toms here. I really like this one, so I'm going to go with this one. And this one. And that one. Let's see how we could pick something here. Create a new pattern, pattern 9, or pattern 10. Let's see if we can create something really quick here. Insert it into here. Let's see how this sounds. I think we want something a little bit longer maybe. Okay, so we got this drum pattern I came up with here. So I think a little bit longer and a little bit more dramatic. So let's listen. So let's listen how this transitions here. Not bad, not bad. I think we'll keep that for now. We can always switch it up later. There's an important thing. You don't have to have it perfect right away. You just have to have the idea here. I wanted a drum fill here and I put something in as kind of a placeholder. We don't need to get it all down perfectly right away. As I said in my previous video, don't get caught up in all the details right away because you can change those. We want the base kind of song elements in place first. Okay, so the next step here is going to be thinking about how we can transition again. So we're going to add some elements here after another 4 bars. So maybe we'll bring in this ARP here. Okay, that's not bad. And to kind of cut out the monotony of the drums, maybe we'll put in a little fill here as well. We'll label this here, fills. Obviously, we can move things around later. This can be our melody. Okay, so I rearranged things, and what we're going to do here is just listen to this section here, coming up with this new fill. And now we have a bit of a increase in energy again because of these hi-hats. And we'll kind of want to introduce this section a little bit better. So we have these variations of different sections here. Sometimes the ARP comes in, ARP comes out. These are decisions you're going to have to make. But don't be afraid to add elements and then drop them out. And that changes the pace and kind of feel of the song. So let's just test out how it sounds with the ARP here. I think I like the ARP being here better, and then that leads into this melody here. Okay, so right now we're up to almost 30 bars here, and we essentially only have these kind of main elements that we talked about. And we'll be able to continue this further actually, but right now I wanted to kind of shift things and think about kind of the transition areas. So we did some fills here, but we want to have a little bit smoother transitions between some of these things. And so there's a few things you can do. There's a couple techniques. First is just through some risers, downers, and kind of reverse cymbals and stuff like that. So we're going to put a couple of those in and then see how they sound. So we're going to label things first. So let's just look at some sweeps maybe. Think about how we want to use them. Let's go back to the start of the song. Let's see if this works kind of like in the middle here, right in between these two sections. I kind of like that, obviously. So now we're going to have to be a little bit more mindful of volume matching because these things tend to be pretty loud and they take over the mix quickly. So we're just going to call this sweep 1, and we're going to just turn this down. It's still a little loud. And then maybe a riser in here going into this next section. This cymbal riser will be good, I think. So we're going to just put this right on the grid. And again, we're going to turn it down. Let's put this on 17. Call this sweep 2. And then we're going to find a longer one. Yeah, let's see how that goes. That one's not quite long enough. Okay, let's try this one. Put it on grid again. And if you find things that aren't quite on grid, you can always hold down Alt, and then it should pop right on grid if you want it to. Okay, so we're gonna just take this one again, put on its own mixer track, and turn this down as well. So let's just hear this beginning now with these things and see how they sound. This might not sound great yet, but I think the general idea is here. Okay, so right away, I can tell this uplifter is starting too early. So what I'm going to do is cut out the beginning of it. I kind of want it to start in this area, so I cut out the beginning so it shouldn't come in anymore. Let's pick it up from here. And it's taken over the sound, so I know it's too loud. I really want it just to be subtle. of feel like pattern 10 could be a little bit shorter actually. Maybe that last note won't be there. Let's listen again. That's a little bit too abrupt of a stop. But as you can see, we're getting somewhere with some of these transitions a little bit. I also feel like this is a little bit too high pitched, so I'm going to try to find something a little bit lower pitched maybe. Let's just try this one maybe. Go to all and just replace it with that. Simple as that. Not as long, but we'll see how this works. Okay, not bad. Again, we'll leave that in for now. The idea is there. So the next question is, I guess, how do we transition over here a little bit better into this melody? Because right now, I feel like there's not a great transition. So let's see if we cut out these two rhythmic elements here. Maybe half a bar before. Sounds really abrupt, maybe a quarter of a bar. And then we can reintroduce the ARP here for the second go around. And then I kind of like that. So we can go back into the bass here and reintroduce the drone as well. Let's listen in this whole section here just to make sure that we like this area. Maybe I'll keep this section in here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to decide on that later, but I definitely want some sort of transition here. Maybe another little sweep here. Let's see how that sounds. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so we're starting to get somewhere here. So what have we done so far? Let's take a look. We have introduced a brand new melody here. We have all our kind of bass sounds here. We have started some arrangement aspects. We've added some sweeps and transition effects. Now, I think a couple important things is to think about the tone of it. This is kind of a darker tone. So there's a few things we can do here to kind of enhance that darker tone. And of course, to enhance the synthwave aspect of it. So with pattern 1, what we're going to do is go to the mixer, look for the bass. And what we're going to do here is introduce a new element here that's going to kind of change the dynamics of things. And this is through a plugin I use a lot called Kickstart 2. This one is not free, unfortunately. It's about $20, but I feel it's really worth it. And this introduces sidechain compression. So what we're going to do is just listen to the pattern and see how it makes a difference here. Super straightforward. And then as you can hear, it sidechains it from the beginning. And I'm gonna introduce it at about 80% of a mix. And that really gets that sidechain ducking effect. And I really like it for synthwave music. So why don't we play it in context? As you can see, I'm doing some just basic balancing here. Okay, so that's just a quick way of getting some interesting dynamics into your song through Kickstart. There's other things you can do and other plugins that you can use. I just use it because I feel it's super easy to use. So the next thing we're going to think about is kind of distortion and warping. So one of the plugins I like to use here is actually a free one called Vinyl. And we're going to see if we can introduce it maybe in the pad here. So let's listen in on the pad and just get used to the sound again. So what we're going to do actually first is we're going to have to start thinking about doing some EQing. Since we need the bass to come through a little bit more, we're going to have to cut out some of those lows. I'm going to cut around 200 for now. And of course, you're not supposed to do this on a solo track, but I'm breaking the rules here. We'll adjust it as we go. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than just picking a random number here, but we're going to do this. And then the next thing we're going to do actually is take this plugin called Vinyl. I'm going to turn it on to 80s mode to take down the wear and the dust because we don't want those kind of artifacts. And we're just going to have the warp on. And we're going to turn on the warp and slowly turn it up. You can hear it a lot here. Kind of like it there, so let's hear how it sounds in context. You can hear the bass a lot more now because we turned down some of those lows. We're going to do the same with the ARP here. So we're going to take out a lot of these lows, they're just not needed. Again here, we're going to take out a lot of the lows. Okay, so now we've just done some basic mixing as well. And the good thing is we pick the right sounds that work together. I'm going to tell you a big secret is that at least 50%, probably more of mixing is just picking the right sounds. That's because sound design is a fundamental element of getting a cohesive mix together. If you don't have the right sounds, it doesn't matter how good of a mixing engineer you are, you're never going to get a good mix together. That is why certain sounds work really well together while others clash. And what we've done here is pick a good mix of sounds and they all blend together really well, as you can hear. just trust your ears in some situations. Obviously, you'll need a little bit of experience. The more experience you have, the more you'll recognize how certain sounds work together. So now that we have the basis of the song, we have some warping, some interesting effects. What we're going to do is just add maybe another layer or two here, and then we're going to kind of finish things off. And hopefully you kind of get a better idea now of how to kind of continue a song, get out of the loop, and move on. So let's do some layering here. So one thing I would like to do here is, for me, this lead melody sounds a little bit thin. It sounds good, but it sounds too thin. So we're going to add another pattern here. We're actually going to go into pattern 9 first. We're going to copy and paste this. Well, first we're going to copy it. Then we're going to get another pattern, pattern 12. We're going to open up a new instance of Serum again. Then bounce it to a new mixer track. I'm going to call it Melody 2. I'm going to pop it right beside the first one. And then we're going to open things up. And what do we feel like we're missing? I feel like some body is missing here. So what we're going to do is just paste it here. And I'm going to lower it down an octave. And then we're going to paste it into the actual arrangement. And we're going to try to kind of come up with something that matches the previous sound. So in this case, you don't have to worry about presets quite as much. We're going to go through some presets, but I kind of know that I want some more body, and I know how to get that more of that body out of this sound. Rather than thinking too much about presets all the time, this is where knowing how to create sounds on your own is really going to come in handy, because you can endlessly search through different presets to try to find another one that matches it. But when you're layering things, you really don't have to find another great main sound. You're just trying to layer it to kind of complement it. So I'm going to just use a regular saw wave here with a filter and see how that sounds. So I don't love the sound of this. And one of the reasons is I'm going to want to match kind of the profile of it. So I'm going to actually turn this back up an octave. It's got that plucky sound, right? So we can hear that there's a bunch of reverb on the first melody and none on the second. So what I'm going to do to match these things a little bit better, I'm going to go back to the other Serum preset. I'm actually going to take the reverb and delay off. And an important thing to do is to always match your reverb and delay on any layered sounds. Otherwise, you're going to find a real problem with trying to match them up together. So let's listen again without reverb and delay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a brand new track called Melody Reverb and Melody Delay. And what we're going to do is, as you can guess, we're going to add reverb and delay through their dedicated tracks here. So we're going to turn the dry all the way down. We're going to turn the level down here a little bit. And we're also going to turn the time down. As you can see here, it's just the wet sound here. And the reason for that is that we're going to essentially route it to here. So we're going to create a brand new track here just for our melodies. And it's going to be called Melody Bus. And we're going to send these here, route to this track only, and then route to this track only. And then from here, what we're going to do is get Fruity Send. we're going to get 2 instances of that, because for every send or every side chain that you want to do, you're going to do a send track essentially. And we're going to click side chain to this track, and then lastly, side chain to this track. And then what we're going to do is go back into Fruity Send, send to Melody Reverb, and then send to Melody Delay. Now we have these two on this track here, so Melody 1 and 2 on its own bus. And everything, essentially every effect we put on it now will have the same effect on both of them. So if I wanted to put, say, some saturation on here, we can essentially shape both of the sounds at the same time. And this would come in handy too if you're adding compression or something like that. So with the melody reverb and delay, what we're going to do is essentially blend in the delay and the reverb. First, we should actually put on some reverb here, and to keep it simple, I'll just use Fruity Reverb. Again, we're going to turn down the dry, we're going to turn up the wet, and we're going to cut some of the lows because they're really not necessary, especially for this higher melody. Cut out the bass as well. And so we're going to blend things in. So let's play them together. So you can hear the reverb coming through. Delay now. I'm not loving this Fruity Reverb, I'll tell you that. So what we're going to do is get Valhalla Supermassive. This is a free plugin. We're going to go to Reverbs, pick let's try this one and blend this in. And there's some importance to your ADSR here. So rather than keeping this on a super plucky sound, I'm upping the sustain, which gives a little bit more body. Okay. So what I want to do here next is take this melody bus, and I'm going to add some saturation here. I'm going to use FabFilter's Saturn plugin. You can use any saturator or distortion plugin of your choice, and we're going to kind of blend in some little bit of saturation here. Just listen again. Okay, not bad. So what we're gonna do next is just add some chorus maybe. Let's try that. And over here I'm using Tal Chorus LX. I've actually never tried this one, and this is a suggestion from a viewer. So I'm gonna try this and see how we can work this thing in. Okay, not bad. That's interesting too. Next thing I'm going to do is just add some of that vinyl again, some of that warping, go back to 80s mode, take out the dust, and blend this in a bit. And with reverb, I'm going to actually take down some of these lows again. Okay, so what do we have so far? We essentially built up this entire song here, and we have another part going into this kind of break here, and then we can pick it back up maybe. We can get close to ending the song. It really kind of depends on what you want to do here. But we essentially have a very good foundation for the song here. And maybe let's just think about kind of ending it here. What can we do? One thing we haven't really talked about is automation. And automation really plays a big part in any kind of music, especially electronic, and especially synthwave. And so we're going to think about maybe just using some automation techniques here towards the end. And what I'm going to do is just copy and paste this section here and just move it towards the very end. And what we're going to do is just a basic kind of automation here that takes out some of these highs and just kind of takes us towards the end of the song. And what I'm going to do here is just extend this drone here for a couple extra beats at the end, just a little bit more dramatic effect. But we're going to keep the automation just within this section. So what I'm going to do here is take a basic EQ from the bus here. Actually, what we'll do first is make sure it's properly EQ'd. So we're going to take the EQ, we're going to take out some of these lows. And what we're going to do is introduce this low pass here, but we're only going to use it as a kind of a sweep essentially. So let's listen to it. As you can see, it really changes the sound here. So to automate it, what we can do is just right click and then create automation clip. As you can see here, this is what it is affecting it. So we'll just do that. And then when you have it highlighted, this is the only section that you'll have here. So we'll take out a bunch of these highs as kind of an automation. So let's play this section here. And I think that's just a nice ending to this song. So let's just play the whole thing through and see where we can improve things and see what we can add or take out. So let's just start from the beginning. Okay, so that is how you essentially make a basic synthwave song. Now, there's obviously a lot more elements to this. You can add so much more automation. You can add just tons of different things, tons of effects. Obviously, you can add tons of different reverbs, delays, and obviously tons of different layers. And there's going to be kind of breaks, picks up in energy, but I really wanted to show you kind of a bunch of different techniques so you can use them in your own songs. This is not a complete song by any means. There's tons of things you can do here to make it full and rich. But I felt like I kind of gave you the basics here, and it really kind of is meant to be a way to inspire you to think about your own songs, how to construct the song, how to use some techniques such as layering, how to use techniques such as sidechaining, putting things on a bus so that they match together, as well as just basic melody construction, chord construction, just little ear candy and transition effects. All of these things play a major role in constructing a song. And the more you kind of practice things, the more you experiment, the better you'll get. This is not by any means a finished song, but it's quite close to getting the basics down of completing a song. There's going to be endless challenges along the way, but hopefully this kind of helps you out and gives you an idea just how to construct a song and hopefully build towards the songs that you want to create. So let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video. This was quite a bit of work for me just to construct, but also for you to watch and to kind of absorb. So remember, if you don't absorb everything right away, don't take it too harshly. You can come back, watch this as many times as you want. Feel free to ask questions and just experiment. There's no right or wrong way of creating music. This is just my way of trying to help you out and think about how to create songs. So I'll see you all next time.